and the rest of y'all still lying in the group chat. Welcome to Morning Tea and Allegations, where the devil gets no mic and the truth gets the final say. Just to get some. Hey, hey! She don't run on rumors, she run on receipts. Sanctified shade with the screenshots to preach. This ain't just gospel, it's gospel flow. She prays, she claps back and lets the spirit go. Bible in one hand, the docs in the other. She speaks with fire, can't silence the truth. Hosted by Bianca, the snitch with a mission. Calling it out, 'cause our children deserve better. Morning tea and allegations, pouring truth with no hesitation. Accountability in rotation. This is gospel education. Transparency is our foundation. Integrity leads the conversation. No rumor, no speculation. Just facts, receipts, and revelation. Morning tea and allegations, where faith walks bold through shady temptation. No fake tongues, no false relations. Just truth, conviction, and conversation. Morning tea and allegations. Snitches on the airwaves. Known again, yeah. Snitches on the airwaves.
Good morning.
Morning tea and allegations. Snitches on the airwaves.
Good morning. Good morning to you. Welcome to Morning Tea and Allegations. This is your host, Bianca Goolsby, otherwise known as Petty B, and I'm so glad that you're here. We had some technical difficulties this morning, changing some things around, but I'm so glad that you're here, that we're able to do this show with intention and with fidelity, and I'm just so grateful that you are here. Before we go ahead and get started, you already know what time it is, and want to go ahead and go through our church announcements. I just want to give a shout out to the folks that are in Patreon. I just thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being there. And even when there are moments where I was quiet, I just thank you for showing up for me unapologetically and supporting the mission and the work. It has been a lot, and I have been sharing as much as I can when I can. And it's so great to be able to continue to step in that and also to have your support in the process. So again, thank you. Okay. We got a full docket today, a lot of things to talk about, and we know why you're here. So the title of today's episode is We Know Why. I know why you're here. Let's talk about it. Okay. But before we talk about it, I do need to go ahead and run these disclaimers because it's very, very important. I need you to be very intentional with these disclaimers, what the message says, so that we can all be in alignment moving forward. Let's go ahead and roll it.
Thank you, church members, as we have additional announcements and disclaimers that require your full attention. I am a certified snitch and whistleblower that reports on what is happening in our community. Like I always say, people lie, receipts don't. With that stated, the content used in this programming is protected under fair use. In addition, the views and opinions on this programming belong to me. I hold myself accountable and prioritize accuracy and truthfulness in my communications. So unless you have receipts, don't start with me. God is still working on me. I love the block button to protect my peace, and I desire to snitch on everybody, including me. Thank you for your attention, and govern yourselves accordingly. Amen.
But God said post and let the record stand.
Yes, indeed. Please govern yourselves accordingly to the disclaimer as we go through this broadcast and so much more. So, who child? It has been a lot. I've missed y'all for 2 weeks and I've changed a day. So originally I was like, okay, when we're going to do season 4, I'm going to change it up and I'm going to record on Wednesday mornings. And it just didn't feel right in my spirit. It just didn't feel right. And I was like, I need to bring back the Saturday morning shows. And so I thank you for being with me in this transition as I try to find the perfect sweet spot to be able to give you the news and the things that I'm passionate about, but also to continue the advocacy work because our children deserve better. And I will continue to say that. Okay. Speaking of children deserving better, let's go ahead and take a look at what's happening with the Department of Education. Let me go ahead and share my screen so that you can see what I'm referencing. So, according to NPR News, we have 87% of employees that are furloughed. On the last episode of Morning Tea and Allegations, titled It's All on Fire, literally all on fire, I shared details of what was happening with the Department of Education. And as the federal government continues its shutdown, more destruction is happening. So the civil rights investigations, they're paused. Head Start programs, yeah, so there's over 130 programs that are going to be going without federal funding. And it's closing. So there have been people that have been receiving letters to say that the program is closing due to the federal shutdown. And I don't know where you're going to bring your kids, but don't bring them here. And that's a really sad situation that's happening. And I missed these slides where I didn't order them correctly. So I'm going to go back because in that, not only are all these programs shutting down and closing due to the federal government shutdown, but the Trump administration actually wants to, as they're dismantling the Department of Education, they actually want to move special education to the Department of Health and Human Services. This is the same department that walked back their plans to have an autism registry. And please don't get me started on the comments that have been made, okay, by RFJ Jr. It's a lot. It's a lot. Again, to uplift that there are some transitions happening with Head Start. And so I am praying for those families that are having to pivot and navigate. I am in several groups. Oh, did I misspeak his name? RFJ, right? Kennedy. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Well, see, this is why when you see where I mess up and then I have to be held accountable because I definitely messed that up when I typed it. Oh, my gosh. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Jesus. Okay. I got a studio audience here, so I'm just grateful that we're able to get the support and help as I'm doing this and getting real-time comments as things are happening. Because, whoa! And then y'all didn't say nothing in the comments? Bruh. That's wild. Y'all just allowed me just to say that and be real wrong and didn't correct me. That is wild. Wild. Okay. Anywho, okay. I just hope that our families are very intentional with what's happening here and that you are paying attention because, again, to uplift that our children deserve better. I am going to post the links to these different articles so that you could be aware, you could read the receipts yourself. So I will be sure to send that to you because you need to see it for yourself. You need to read the receipts. You need to know. Please know what's happening in our education system because I am telling you, our children deserve better. And there are so many people that are having conversations about education, and it is sad. It is truly sad, the conversations that some people are having. So let's go ahead and move on. Okay, so this has been a hot topic, and I'm so glad that we are talking about this. This is talking about the power grab that is happening with Hillsborough County Public Schools. So you have a Republican lawmaker that wants to make the superintendent in Hillsborough County a partisan elected role. they would want them to go through the election process instead of being appointed by the school board. And I want to know your thoughts. So please put it in the comments. Sound off. Do you want to have a superintendent that is on the ballot that you vote for? Or would you rather allow the elected the elected school board members that you vote for to appoint a superintendent? I would like to know, because this has been a hot topic. The person that's featured to the right of this, his name is State Representative Owen. He's in District 70, and he plans to introduce this bill in the next legislative session. And this has sparked so much debate. Again, I want to know what you think, but I will say for a note, if you didn't know, that the majority of superintendents in Florida are elected. However, the largest school districts in Florida are appointed by their school board members. And I just want to break down the lowest performing school data to highlight why Hillsborough schools might be a target. Now, I've been talking about the persistently low performing schools in Hillsborough County. And for years, I've been mentioning and telling you that they lead the state in the number of low performing schools. And I've had an opportunity to go deep into some data. Okay. And one of the comments says, and I'm so glad you here. Yes, indeed. School board should elect. I want y'all to sound off in the comments, because I'm telling you, this is a very hot topic people are talking about, and we need folks to be engaged. You want the school board to appoint the superintendent, and I hear you. And I also want to hear these other voices too, because there's a lot of commentary on social media about it, and we need to make sure that we're talking to our legislators who are going to ultimately make this decision before it goes before a ballot. And then that is when the folks will vote to make this happen. So there's a lot of steps to this process, but I do like the conversation, and I do like that it's happening. But while we have these conversations about the appointment of a superintendent, we do need to talk about the data in Hillsborough County Public Schools. So I just want to break down the data for you, because the definition of low performing schools has changed significantly. When I did the calculations, there were significantly more schools that were labeled low performing. In fact, while the state saw more A and B schools, we saw a 423.5% increase of schools that were labeled low performance. Let me just say that again, just to make sure that you hear me. Okay. The state saw more A and B schools from the previous school year. However, we saw a 423.5% increase in the schools that were labeled persistently low performing. So let's take a look at this chart, because I worked very, very hard on it to give you the details here. So where it says metric, for those of you that are listening in podcast form and not watching the video, I thank you for the podcast community. I want to just kind of go over this chart so as if you can see it visually, and you are more than welcome to join us over on YouTube and Facebook so that you're able to see the data yourself. But the total schools that were low performing in 2023 and 2024 was 51. The total schools that are now labeled low performing schools is 267, which means that there was an increase of 216 schools that are now labeled low performing schools. So when you do the math, that is 423.5%. In that Title I schools, you had 51 Title I schools that was low performing in 2023 and 2024. And in 2024, 2025, you had 259 schools that were low performing, which resulted in an increase of 208 Title I schools that are now labeled low performing schools in the state of Florida. And then the last data set that I wanted to pay attention to was the schools that were at 100% economically disadvantaged. So you had 50 schools in 2023, 2024, and then you had 236 for the 2024-2025 school year, which resulted in, 186 schools increasing in this category. This data is alarming. So this is what the results are. So I was able to break it down by the top 6 school districts. As you can see, Hillsborough is still leading the list. Okay. And you can see the data sets where it has the number of low performing schools, the change in its percentage. I just want to know that Palm Beach had one of the highest numbers of increase of 1,600%. You went from 2 schools that were labeled low performing, and now you have 34, which now they have 32 underperforming schools. This is something passionate for me. I'm passionate about this, looking at the data, looking at the numbers, because this is important, folks. Our children deserve better. And what we have done is we've changed the rules. And now we are seeing all of these schools now that are now called the underperforming, the low performing schools because of some laws that were tweaked. And there are so many questions here. So if you want to see the breakdown of this, I will be writing an article on Teaching for the Culture, showing these data sets and charts in a way for you to understand it. But just know that this data is serious. This screams so many red flags as to what's happening. And we have 216 schools that just suddenly fail. And I'm just wondering if we manufactured a crisis. So these are the results. 98.1 of them was caught by the new early grade criteria, which is the law change that I was referencing. So a lot of this was captured with that law change regarding math and ELA data. You have 92.1% that serve 90 to 100% economically disadvantaged populations. Mind you, there are 0 charter schools on this list, 0. And there are 47 schools on this list with A or B grades, but are labeled failing. So some questions to ask is, why did 216 schools just suddenly fail? And did we change the rules to manufacture a crisis? Like I said, and I also want to note that this is also an elementary school crisis because 84% of the failing schools serve our youngest learners, K through 5. Okay. Let's take a look at this video.
Florida charter school operator is angling takeover classrooms in public schools across the state, and others could soon follow suit. New Florida guidelines allow charters known as Schools of Hope to occupy space in undercapacity schools. Now, supporters believe this will give parents in lower performing schools more choices for their kids.
Critics are concerned, though, this will open the door for privately run charters to profit then on the backs of taxpayer funded schools without any district oversight. As Aaron Mesmer reports for us now, there may not be much local school districts, though, can do to stop it.
The Hillsborough County School District received nearly 30 letters last week, all from the CEO of Mater Academy, a Miami-based charter school run by Roberto Blanche. In each letter, Blanche identified a public school he believes falls under a new Florida guideline. It allows so-called schools of hope like Mater to take over classrooms in existing public schools, Governor DeSantis explained the idea last month.
Schools of Hope do have an ability when some perform poorly where that can basically be taken over by a charter operator.
There are 6 Schools of Hope operators in Florida. Supporters say the idea is to give students at low-performing schools another option. New rules from the State Board of Education now allow them to claim space on undercapacity campuses. Charters could move into their own classrooms in public schools while the districts foot the bill. It's a move that outraged critics like Damaris Allen, who runs the organization Families for Strong Public Schools.
So they're not paying anything for the use of the building, which means that they're not accounting for maintenance fees. They're not paying into custodial fees or anything like that.
Mater sent out dozens of notices to districts across the state. Hillsborough, Manatee, Pasco, and Sarasota counties are among those that received them.
Parents are concerned about losing their local public school. They're concerned about what it looks like when another school comes in.
Mater wants to begin moving into public schools in 2027. We're told districts don't have many options to deny requests from Schools of Hope. They can file an objection with the state or allow the charter operator to find an alternative space.
The idea that a letter is being told what we have to do, what we have to accept, I think is really alarming, and it's scary because it's telling me that it's no longer about children, it's about profit.
A Manatee County Schools spokesperson says Mater's letters are premature. Notices can't be submitted before November 11th. Still, Hillsborough School Board member Nadia Combs is worried.
I think my biggest concern is the lack of oversight.
Neither Mater Academy nor the Florida Department of Education immediately responded to requests for comment. Aaron Mesmer, Fox 13 News.
Aaron, thanks. The governor believes that many schools are under capacity because they're underperforming. He says that Schools of Hope can improve the situation for students. Meantime, districts would also be required to provide Schools of Hope with office space, school nurses, security, transportation, and also nutrition services. The charter operators are required to give districts at least a year's notice before they occupy a public school.
Okay. Who child? The writings were on the wall, and shout out to Damaris Allen, y'all. Just like shout out to her being in the fight. I just really appreciate her for the work that she does for public education and for our students. And I was so glad to see her in the article and the video. So why is this a problem? So I highlighted that Hillsborough has the most underperforming schools in the state, and that there are laws that allow these underperforming schools to now share space with charter. And while all of that is happening, we are seeing such a rapid expansion of the voucher school programs that it is becoming unsustainable. Florida, with this voucher program, there were 47 million that is now in a budget hole because of the Department of Education, which leaves both the public and private schools holding the bag because they're both complaining that they're not being paid properly. I want you to hear me good, that Florida expanded these vouchers so fast that the system could not even track where the kids were going. They are sending money to families before even checking and validating and getting the receipts, where there were students that were enrolled into 2 schools at once. And while public school is cutting back on teacher raises because the state had clawed back millions mid-year, there are also private schools that are owed so much money from last year, which is documented in the article. Okay, let me share it with you. This is the article that I want you to read. It actually talks about different schools that are like, hey, where's my money? I need my money in order to function here. Can you please give me the money? What's happening here? And here's the solution that has been proposed, that we restrict school choice or we keep the chaos going. Either way it goes, I just want to say that this is what happens when the ideas and the ideology runs ahead of a infrastructure, and where they want to eliminate public schools so bad, but they couldn't even build a sustainable system to replace it. So nobody is getting paid properly. The public, the private, or families. It has been a disaster. And the receipts show that this was never about helping kids, folks. This was never about helping kids. This was about dismantling public education so fast, and they didn't care if it worked. The Florida voucher expansion has been a disaster. And again, private schools are even complaining that they're not getting the money. So there are some questions that you need to ask your lawmakers, particularly the ones that continue to claim that they have expanded school choice. And speaking of, okay, let me see, make sure. Okay. I did some calculations from the article that I think that y'all need to be aware of, okay? So you had 23,000 students that was enrolled in both public and private schools. And this is the students that we know. There could be I see more students being flagged and caught up in this system. I do. And 27,000 plus families and students in the fall, they were double counted in funding. So because of the fluidity of students being able to be enrolled in a public school, and then they get moved out, and then they go to a charter school, and then they get moved out, they go to private school, and they get moved out, and then now they homeschool, there is no tracking system with fidelity to make sure that the dollars are accounted for the child. And you can't really do that when you're using such an old model, which I can't wait to go down that rabbit hole and to explain that to you, because it's like a 50-year system, which is why I say all of this is not sustainable. And then I just wonder, like, what is going to end up happening here, because it don't make sense. And then there was at least 7 million. Again, I think these numbers are much higher, but this is what was accounted for as of the writing of the article, that at least 7 million went to families before they even verified where the student was going. So just think about the mismanagement and the things that are happening here. And again, these things are moving so fast, and it's disrupting the education system. But you also know what's disrupting the education system too? AI. Whether you like it or not, AI is here to stay. But the problem that I have personally is that I do think that we are allowing big tech companies to dictate how it should be used in classrooms with zero oversight, little accountability. You have schools that have the funding and the resources, they're getting the best tools, and the schools that do not have those same resources are getting whatever is free. And we're not even asking the fundamental question, like, is this helping kids learn, or is it helping them complete assignments faster? Okay. If you are a follower of the Heal That Shit network and movement, on that podcast, I talked about and shared a video of an educator that did a spelling test for their students. And she was sharing the results of the spelling test, where children cannot even recognize letters or even write their name on a sheet of paper. There's a lot that's missing here. There are a lot of gaps, and I can continue to talk about the problem, but ultimately I'm trying to figure out what these solutions are going to be. And while folks are like, AI is going to transform our education system, you darn right, it's doing it. It's doing it really, really fast. And I do think that we're running a massive, unregulated experiment on our children, just like when we gave them social media access. And that's going to circle back, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Okay. So, that was a lot. Let me sip my tea. Child. These educator confessionals, boy, oh boy. Y'all love when I do these, and I'm so grateful to be able to. This is going to come from the National Education Association. They did a survey, and they did a survey discussing the student behavioral crisis, okay? There are some educators that are at their breaking point. And the results from this study are alarming. And I wanted to share with you some of those key points from the research and the study. So 80% of teachers say that student behavior is a serious problem. There was 81% of educators that report that students are quote unquote acting out or misbehaving. There's 68% of teachers have experienced verbal abuse from students. 4 in 5 teachers say that behavior is completely out of control. And 44% cite that student behavior is one of the top sources of stress. An average teacher loses 7 hours per month managing outbursts. And a middle school teacher, studies show, they lose 10 hours per month of instructional time dealing with behaviors. Now, according to the educators, parents, come on, listen up. Community members, come on. We need all hands on deck, y'all. We need all hands on deck to solve this problem because it's a problem. I don't know if you've seen the videos of the students fighting on the bus or how it's a fight club on some of our school campuses, but it's a lot going on. It's wild. So buckle up. Come here, okay? 75% of the educators say that there's a lack of parental support for discipline. And one of the Hillsborough Talk It Out groups, I seen a post where a teacher had called a parent to talk about their child's behavior. And the parent said that the reason why their child's behavior was like that is because they were a Gemini. Huh? I had called some parents back in the day when I was in the classroom. And I had some parents tell me, they said, well, I'm at work. And I'm like, well, what do you think I'm doing? I'm at work too. So I don't know how to bridge the gap here. This is why we need so many advocacy groups that are out here to continue to have these conversations. But the numbers don't lie. These surveys don't lie. And what I see on the internet also highlights that this ain't a lie, because there's a TikTok trend that I'm going to talk about in a moment where I don't understand how children think that some of this is okay. Okay. But they see things, they want to replicate it because they think it's cool, and it's a lie. Okay. Someone in the comment says, as a Gemini, there may be some truth. Now, ma'am, okay. We ain't doing that. Okay. We are not doing that. We are talking about accountability here. And it's wild that a teacher called a parent and the parent was like, oh, well, she a Gemini. I don't know what to do with her. And it's like, well, what do you want me to do about your child? Huh? Okay. Anywho, so another thing that the educators say, okay, and for those educators that are in the comments, like, come on, you type something. Let the people know that's watching. They might not be watching now, but they definitely gonna be watching later. So let them know some of the things that they need to be aware of, because 60% say that they lack administrator support. Okay. And I have seen and heard educators go back. Okay. They go back and they tell a student to get out the classroom for whatever reason. And then you got the administrator have the student in the office all of maybe about 10 minutes. And then they got a darn lollipop. They eating some candy after they was just disturbing the classroom, disturbing the environment. And they was in your office for less than 20 minutes. Huh? Who child. Also, the educators say in this study that the class sizes are too large. And I could tell you that that is absolutely happening. And I don't understand why. Oh, wait, I do know, because of the lack of funding. And we're sending all this money to these different voucher programs, and they can't even keep up. This is why the voucher program is ain't gonna go back. Ain't gonna go back. No. But somebody. Ain't gonna finish that statement. If you know, you know. All right, let's move forward. The educators also say that there's not enough mental health professionals, that there are insufficient paraprofessionals and co-teachers. And instead of investing money, you had the Trump administration that canceled billions of dollars for mental health support funding. They are creating a problem when teachers are just trying to do their best, when kids are having a hard time navigating life. This isn't just policy failure. It is intentional sabotage. It is. So I need y'all to go read the study and hear what the teachers are saying. And also, the teachers that are going to educate in this thread, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, okay? You need to hear the educators and listen to what they're saying, because it's very clear that we are not paying attention, and we do need to pay attention to our educators, because our children deserve better. Okay? The comment says, there has been a long divide on parental responsibility and what they expect from educators. You are absolutely correct, because you know what? When it was time to go back to school, you had educators that was like, hey, all right, we're ready to go back to school. You had parents say, well, I'm not buying my child school supplies. Y'all need to make sure that y'all have the nice decor in the classroom. Why these classrooms look so bare and ugly? Why y'all asking? I get so fired up that sometimes I just get so tongue-tied and twisted, because it is so frustrating. It is so frustrating to see professionals, mind you, professionals that continue to be gaslit on how to do their job. And y'all out here making TikToks. Wild work. That's okay though. Them children gonna be right at your door. They gonna need your help and support. And because of you not buying school supplies and all that, you keep on. You keep on with that, okay? Oh my God. All right. So I'm gonna post the link of this survey again, so that you can read it yourself. You could be a part of the conversation, and so that you can know, because you need to know. And there is a divide. I don't know how to change the gap here, but some need to change, because it's not sustainable. And again, you have fight clubs on school campuses and folks being mollywopped out here, and it's wild. Okay. Speaking of mollywopped and wild and all of that stuff, we do need to have a conversation, okay, about the breakdown in these TikTok trends and what the kids are doing on the internet. So let me go ahead and share my screen so that we can watch this video, because a child was sent to the hospital because of a TikTok trend, and I want you to see what the child did.
First up at 11, a warning from firefighters about a dangerous social media trend that landed a St. Pete teenager in the hospital. It's called the Jam Jar Pulse Jet. Serious burns can result from this. Silly name. Fox 13's Danielle Zolkowski is in our newsroom now. Danielle, so firefighters say they really need parents to step up and make sure this doesn't happen to their kids.
Yes, absolutely. The St. Pete Fire Department says parents should talk to their children about this trend and anything that involves fire to try and make sure no other child gets burned.
Being cool on TikTok could come with dangerous consequences.
We had a young
young teenage boy set himself on fire trying to do one of these challenges, and he will be faced with life-altering injuries now that he'll deal with for the rest of his life.
Just this week, a 14-year-old boy in St. Pete landed in the hospital with burns to his legs after trying the jam jar pulse jet trend,
which produces a fire hazard, an explosion hazard, an uncontrolled event that can set a house on fire or even set a person on fire.
The trend involves pouring rubbing alcohol in a jar, putting a lid with a hole on top, and lighting the alcohol on fire. The problem? The jars can explode, throwing fiery rubbing alcohol on anyone standing nearby.
It can cause significant harm, permanently damage your vision, permanently scar you. Heaven forbid it causes a laceration or something that causes life-threatening bleeding. But the fire risk is real.
Ian Womack with the St. Pete Fire Department says the post is not worth the pain and says parents should stay involved with their teens, talk to them about what they're seeing online and the safety risks of lighting alcohol on fire.
Just engage with kids and then also find opportunities to highlight the risk with kids, right? The risk of getting burned, the risk of setting the house on fire, so that they understand there's real consequence to these things.
Womack says it takes real courage to stand up to peer pressure and avoid these trends, and parents should remind their kids of that. As far as the 14-year-old injured earlier this week, his parents heard the noise and they were able to put the fire out. The child received non-life-threatening burns to his legs. Chris?
Wishing him a speedy recovery, and hopefully this stunt is a cautionary tale for anyone else thinking about trying that at home. Thank you, Danielle.
The trend is called Jam Jar Pulse Jet. Jam Jar Pulse Jet. What? I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what to say to this. And when I tell you there's so many different TikTok challenges, I've seen it. I've documented it. There are episodes on YouTube, if you go to Teaching for the Culture, of episodes where I've talked about some of these dangerous trends that our children are doing online. Parents, caregivers, please check the cell phone. Please be intentional with what our children are doing online. Please. Thankfully, the parents were there to be able to save the child, but oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Wild. So I just want to continue to uplift social media safety and being very, very intentional with what your children have access to. And these trends are awful. It's happening. It's impacting our children in such a severe way. And in that, I just want to highlight something that I can't wait to show y'all as I follow this along, because I will be following this with intention, because this is my life's work. This is what I've been talking about for several years, the impacts of social media on children. You have the top social media platforms that have been ordered to testify in person, y'all, in person. Okay. They tried to avoid it, but they are now having to testify in person to talk about the harm that social media has to our young people. The trial starts in January 2026. So in a couple of months, we'll be right there. I'll be with my popcorn. I'll be right there taking notes and reporting to y'all about this trial, because I'm telling you, I'm going to be right there watching, because this is important. The defendants in the matter is Meta. So that's Facebook and Instagram, Snap, Snapchat, TikTok, and YouTube. Again, all of these top social media platforms, they're ordered by a judge to testify in person. You have hundreds of families and entire school districts that are suing and saying, you know that your app is harming children and you did it anyway. And now the judge is forcing the CEOs to answer under oath. Won't God do it? Okay. Now, the defendants in this case is still trying to hide behind Section 230. If you don't know, Section 230 was a law that was passed back in 1996. Oh my God. 1996. Obviously, there needs to be some updated laws because the way that social media, it has totally evolved and there needs to be more oversight on it. And also, while we're talking about social media, going back to AI, what I was talking about, how it's moving so fast, it's hard to keep up, and we're running an unregulated experiment, like how we ran an unregulated experiment with social media. We need to go ahead and talk about AI too, because you got children that are falling in love on AI tools and they are harming themselves. Okay. I've talked about this on several different podcasts and I'm very passionate to continue to talk about it because it's a very serious problem. Okay. The judge said that in this particular case, this landmark social media trial, that Section 230 doesn't protect them from negligent claims. It also doesn't protect them from personal injury claims based on the app's design and also how the apps are designed to be addictive. Okay, so all of this is great because they've been hiding behind Section 230, and now the judge is like, oh no, we need to talk about this negligence. We need to talk about personal injury. I just showed a video of personal injury right there, okay, and how it's designed to be addictive. So this trial is definitely going to pull back the curtain, particularly because there's been internal documents that have been leaked that they knew. So it's going to be great to know when they knew, how did they find out, and why they didn't do nothing about it. So I'm thankful that school districts are suing because they're actually the ones truly dealing with the mental health crisis that these apps have created and how these apps have created so much chaos on campuses. You have students that are creating meme pages on campus to harass and cyberbully and to intimidate and to attack and all of these different things. And while all of this is happening, I am going to be right there on January 2026 with y'all, because y'all going to come with me so that we could talk about these apps, the harm that it's causing, and why some of these companies are choosing profits over our kids. Yeah. Okay, so with that being said, let's talk about some cybersecurity tips because I think that that's important that we talk about that. This is Cybersecurity Month, okay? And this is a message that I've been saying for some time now, and I just want to uplift it today, particularly because there are some things that I need to talk about, okay? We know why you're here, all right? And I'm thankful that you've been here this entire time so that you could hear it. The cyber tip is the internet never forgets. Let me say it one more time for the people in the back. The internet never forgets. So I'm just wondering, okay? Do you think about, be intentional before you post it or even send it? Do you think about it just being out there? Because screenshots are forever. Okay, this doesn't just go for the adults. This also goes for the children too, because the children also need to know that the internet never forgets, because some children think that just because they post something on Snapchat and because the app feature removes it in 24 hours, that it can't be recovered or that there's no screenshot of what was posted. So I want you to think before you post and to ask yourself, would the future you be proud? Or should you just press delete? I will say, me holding myself accountable, that I go back to some of the things that I've said on the internet and I wish that I wouldn't. However, I got to stand firm to say it's out there. I said it. And then I also asking that, well, did I lie? Okay. So I want you to make sure that you are protecting your image, that you are protecting your peace, and also your passwords. We talked about that in the last episode, on episode 9, of different password managers and tips so that you could protect yourself. And please do that. Please do that, because people lie, receipts don't. which leads me to the videos that I posted on Thursday evening. Okay. So on Wednesday night, I was sent messages that Elvis Piggott went live and he named his legal team. And for context, I just want to highlight the news clip so that you have full understanding of what I'm referencing.
And right now, we're following a Tampa City Council forum that spiraled into chaos. This is 10 Tampa Bay News at 11. I'm Dave Wagner. A former candidate for the District 5 race pulled out his gun after a heated conversation. And tonight, Tampa police are investigating. 10 Tampa Bay News reporter Miguel Octavio is live outside the Tampa Heights Civic Association venue where that forum was held. And Miguel, one witness described the moment the gun came out as pure pandemonium.
Dave, I'm told dozens rushed for the door when that gun came out tonight. We heard from the man who pulled the gun. He says he acted in self-defense because a family member of a District 5 candidate confronted him.
I'm going to come back and let y'all know what happened.
Pastor Elvis Piggott shared this video moments after pulling out his gun. Police arrived and were seen speaking with people outside. Tonight, Piggott stands by his actions.
I have nothing again to lie about or to prove.
Piggott ran for the District 5 seat but did not make the runoff. He came to Thursday's forum between Thomas Scott and Nia Young. He claims a family member of Young confronted him.
It was one of her uncles, I believe. Never seen him in life. Don't know who it is. Never saw him. I just was approached by an individual.
When I asked for details, he referred to the ongoing investigation. Did he threaten you or did he touch you at all?
Well, we the lawyers, and we wrote my statement with the Tampa Police Department.
In a statement, Young wrote in part, "My heart goes out to those who experienced this shocking and unprovoked act of violence and intimidation." Witness Jason Marlowe told me by phone he saw Piggott pull out his gun and disputes his account. He claims a family member Piggott named was feet away when it happened.
Absolutely another lie. Personal bandana. I'm with this individual. Have not liked me for a while.
Piggott publicly supports Scott, not Young, but insists politics had nothing to do with his actions and says he tried to protect his 2-year-old son, who he brought with him.
And sometimes it may look a certain way to the eyes of those that want to create a narrative about something that they did not experience.
Now, Piggott was detained but later released. Police are still investigating this. We will let you know if any charges are filed. Live in Tampa, Miguel Octavio, 10 Tampa Bay News.
Okay. So Elvis Piggott has done several lives. He was mentioning different attorneys that was working with him and talking with him about the case. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that has happened as it relates to this particular matter. But on Wednesday night, he announced that Michelle Rayner, my ex-wife, was going to be his attorney. And I'm going to be very honest and transparent with y'all. The range of emotions that I felt, okay, because after all of the things that Elvis Piggott has said and all the things that he has done, I just found it really interesting that she chose to represent him. And that's her choice. But also, I have a right to talk about that choice, just like I have the right to talk about the choice of her representing the alleged killer of Fulio, which is one of the reasons I was very adamant about my last name. And I will continue to talk about it because it's my story. So I will continue to uplift that receipts have power, words have consequences, and patterns don't lie. So I posted a clip of Elvis saying harmful things previously about his attorney. And as a result, I did receive several messages and phone calls. I want to be very transparent to tell you that Elvis Piggott did reach out to me via Instagram and asked if I would call him, which I responded no. I would not have a conversation with him via phone. The only way that I will have communication with him is if it's documented, and that would have to be in writing. Been there, done that. And my inbox is open for him to say whatever he desires, but I was not calling him. I was not giving him my number. I don't want that type of access. And also my ex-wife called multiple times, and I didn't respond, nor will I. And I won't spend too much time on this, but I have been very transparent, and I will continue to be. And I will encourage you to do the same. Speak your truth. I will continue to always uplift that people lie, receipts don't, and the importance of having documentation. The video that I posted of Elvis Piggott being in fear of his life, yet leaving his child in the car while he went to go and harass the folks while the police was doing an investigation and calling them the P word. Pastor, like I said, some alliances will tell you everything that you need to know. And when people show you who they are, believe them. I will continue to stand on the 3 keys, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's misunderstood. The 3 keys: accountability, transparency, and integrity. And I am intrigued on how this court case is going to shape out. So, to my Patreon members, my equalizers, my digital guardians, I will highlight what was sent to me yesterday and my response with receipts, just so that it's documented, because child, ego will always tell on itself. The final message for today is, what's meant for you can't be snatched by someone's lies, manipulation, or whatever they try to pull. I am preparing a video to highlight this trademark dispute and to ask for your help. We need your help in flagging the page Teach for the Culture. We have been going through a long, multi-year trademark dispute, and I'm so glad that we got the victory with prejudice. But having Teach for the Culture has impacted our SEO. Obviously, it's caused confusion, and I need your help. We need your help in holding Shauna Brown accountable for her to honor and follow the trademark law. So please make sure that you stay tuned for that video to drop. And I'm going to leave you with the affirmation for today. The affirmation is, I am the author of my truth. Nobody is going to rewrite my story while I am still breathing, still healing, and still bold enough to tell it myself. I am sending you so much love, light, and peace. I'm so excited to be back here on Saturdays. I can't wait for y'all to just continue to be with me on this journey with Teaching for the Culture and season 4 of Morning Tea and Allegations. I appreciate it so much. Sending you love, light, and peace, and see you next Saturday at 9:30-ish.